to take on a more interesting aspect of this project. We're going to actually create the layout of our home page in Dreamweaver CS6. I'm going to click File, New, Blank Page, HTML with no layout, and I will create a blank page. I like to work in Design View, and right now I have this totally blank page. File, Save As, and I'll make sure that I save it in the right folder. So I have to get to the folder that I've created. Here we are, and it goes right in the project root directory. And the first page of every website should always be called index, and the program will add .htm or .html, either one. I'm using .html, and I click Save. So now I have this index page, and the first thing that we'll do is go to Page Properties, and we're going to add a trace image, a tracing image. And right here, I'll simply browse to the JPEG file that I've already created, and it should be right there. There it is. Now you don't want to insert the Photoshop file, but the JPEG, and click OK. Now you can control the transparency of this image. You don't want to be 100%. You don't want to be 0. I'm not sure how it's going to show up on this video, so I'm going to go at about 30% and click OK. And now you can faintly see an outline of this image that we've created. The next step is to start creating divisions for every element of this page. First, we'll create a main container. So by the way, for my tool setup, I always use the classic setup. You might click Reset Classic, and you'll get all of your tools exactly the way you want them. I'm going to go to CSS Styles, Alt Tab, and right here I'll add a new CSS rule. Now you can do that down here as well, but I think it's much better to work up here. So I'm going to add a new CSS rule, and because it's going to be one container used only once, we use an ID. And an ID should always start with a pound sign, and I'm going to call this main box. Now I click OK, and I can set up all of the parameters. For the box category, I know my width is 900 pixels, and I know that the height is 1000 pixels. And I will add a border around this. You don't have to, but I'm going to. So I'll say a solid line, and I'll make it a thin line. And here I'll try to create a color. I always go with custom colors and try to find some kind of a color. A real good idea is to click one of the custom color spaces in your palette here, and then find the color that you want. And I'm going to go with like a dark brownish color if I can find one here real quick. And sometimes you got to hunt for it a little bit. There we go. We're starting to get there. And that looks pretty good. What I'll do is add it to my custom colors. And I'm trying to pick colors that will match what my image colors my image uses. So now I click OK, and finally click OK. Now I've created a division, a style, a set of rules. Now I insert the division. How do I do that? I'm going to go to Layout, the Layout tab, and I click this first option here which says Insert Division Tag. And you have to just simply read these options. Where do I insert it? After the start of the body tag starts way up here. And what ID did I want? Main box. Click OK, and bam, you'll see that your main box is completely outlining that trace image perfectly. Now it automatically adds Q text, and usually you want to get rid of that Q text. Sometimes you can leave it there, but sometimes it'll get in the way, as in this case. All right, I better save my page. File and save. Now, when you look at this image, a real simple way to think of it is telescope inward. What I really have is a whole huge header section. I have a main area, main content area, which is constantly going to be changing. And way at the bottom, I have a footer. So one way to do this is to create those three main units inside of the main box division. So that's exactly what we'll do. I add a new CSS rule. I use ID because I'm using it only one time. You can't use the name twice, so I'm going to call this header header box, and I'll click OK. Now for the guidelines here for box, for width, if I want it to be as wide as possible from this edge to this edge, I can just leave the width blank. For the height, I'm just going to ballpark it. And one thing that I like to do is always use view and show rulers, so I can kind of estimate that it's going to go to about 250 or so. So for my height, I'll try 230. I always go a little less than I really want for right now, because I can make it larger anytime I want. Now I've created this header box, and now I insert it where immediately after the start of the main box, I want to insert header box. Here's the start of main box, and I click here, and there's my header box. And I was pretty darn close. I can see here that I should extend this maybe, 5 pixels. So here's how you edit. Click on header box in your styles panel, and then click the pencil tool. And right here, I'll simply increase this and make it 235. Now to see what it does, if you click apply, you'll see it actually change. You can see what it does, and that is just about on. I'll click OK. Now again, usually I will get rid of their Q placeholder words, because that will get in the way a little bit later on. Of course, in this header division, this header box, I'm going to place smaller divisions inside it. Now I need the main, the container, the main content, I should say. And an easy way to do that is simply take the header box, right mouse click, and all I did was click on it, and then right mouse click and say, click the duplicate option, ID, and this time I'm going to call it content. And I click OK. Now I have a division called content. Now I'll insert content where immediately after the tag called header box, because this is the start of header box and this is the end of header box. It's going right after that. So after tag, and the ID is content. And there's my content. Now obviously content is not high enough. I don't have enough height. So I'll click on content and then the pencil tool, and now I can start adjusting, and I can estimate and that sort of thing. But I usually like to move a little smaller than I need, and keep adjusting. I'm getting closer. I just clicked apply, and you can see I got closer. And right now I can kind of estimate here. I can see that another 200 pixels should do it. So I'll click content, and for height I'll add 200, so that'll be a little bit of 700 here. Let's see. And I can still add a little bit more, so I'll try 730 or 740. I always go a little less than I want, because if I make this division larger than the area I have, it won't fit in there, and I'll have a layout that will not work. It'll place this division below the main box. So I'm going to say 740, click apply, and wouldn't you know it, I'm just about right on. Now here's a little tip regarding CSS. You don't have to be round numbers. For an example, it might be better for me to say 738, and I'll be exactly where I want to be. You don't have to always make it end in a 0 or a 5. Okay, I need one more division, And that division, oh, before I go any further, I'm going to get rid of their automatic placeholder text that they add into every division. Okay, at this point we've created two subordinate containers, and I simply need one more container, the footer. All I have to do is click content, click on content, or any one of these actually, but I'll click on the content one if I can. I'll right mouse click and I'll say duplicate, and I'll call it pound. I'll give it the name, I'll give it the name pound footer. Click OK. And now I have footer, but I know it's not going to fit in that little space. So I'm going to edit it right away. I want it as wide as possible, but my height is very, very narrow. I can use my rulers for a cue here. I'm going to try 20 for height. I'll click OK. And now all I do is, here is the end of content. Now, what division is it? By the way, if you click on the edge of the dotted line divisions and look right here at the last possible tag, it'll show you what the name of that is. Okay, so I'm on content. I'm going to put it underneath content. So I click right here and I say where? After the tag, after content, I want footer. When I click OK, bam, it fits right where I need it to be, and I can see that I can actually make it a little bit bigger, which I will. I click on the pencil tool, I highlight the, maybe I went a little too quick, I highlight the division and that I want to edit, click the pencil tool, and for height I can go a little further. I'll say 25 pixels, click apply, and that is just about perfect. I could actually probably go one more and say 26 if I wanted to, but I think that'll work for me just the way it is. Again, I like to get rid of the placement holder text. I better save my page. And at this point, I've got the main ingredients there. I have the main container, and inside the main container, I have a header section, a content section, and a footer section.